If you're watching this video, you've probably been called Spanish speaking. You'll be speaking el idioma celestial, the celestial language. I spent a large portion of my life speaking Spanish. I would speak it at home with my dad, who served in Spain and taught me and my younger brother Spanish. And I served my mission in Colombia, and I had the chance to teach the gospel in the Spanish language. The Spanish language is something very dear to my heart, and I love seeing missionaries, as I teach at the MTC, really grasp onto the language and have just a passion for learning it. Learning Spanish is such an asset to every part of my life, and I know that it'll become an asset for yours, both in school. I study in Brigham Young University, and also at work when I teach Spanish, of course, and also it's helped me to make new friends and find people on my mission that I consider as family nowadays. Tips to speaking the Spanish language. The Spanish language is fairly easy to pronounce, as long as you can master the vowels. The vowels of Spanish are the same as in English, A, E, I, O, U, and in Spanish that is A, E, I, O, and U. You'll see that the mouth is more used and the tongue is more rigid in Spanish. In English, our tongue is not as rigid and our mouth is loose and lots of times closed. We can mumble words, whereas in Spanish, you can't mumble as much. Another tip to speaking Spanish is mastering different sounds that we don't have in the English language. Some of those are, for example, the ñ, that is an N with a little squiggle above it, if you've seen that in writing, and that makes the NY sound. For example, in niño, or ñame, or again, niño, niña, and I'll probably think of some other ones, sureño, right? Words that have an N with the squiggly, you'll say that NY. Words that have the double L, that's said depending on where you serve or where you learn Spanish, it differs culturally. Where I served, we'll say that with a ja sound. So the word girl in Spanish is E-L-L-A, which in Colombian Spanish we would say Asia, like the continent, right? In places like Argentina, that would be said Asia, or places like Mexico, it would be said ella. And that will just differ depending on where you serve. The hardest for gringos or Americans to pronounce is the double R, the ra sound. To learn how to roll your R's, I would say put your tongue up against the top of the palate on your mouth. Push it as close to your teeth as you can and let airflow go in between your tongue and the roof of your mouth. If you can't get the ra sound down, then try putting your tongue up there and making a clicking noise. That's the contact you want with the roof of your mouth that will be used to roll your R's. Native speakers really appreciate the extra effort that especially American missionaries put into pronouncing their language the way it should be pronounced. And it will help you become a more effective missionary or even just an effective speaker in general, whether you're a missionary or not. The pronunciation really is key. Even if you don't know all of the grammatic principles, which you'll learn as a missionary or as a tourist maybe, you can still sound like you know what you're doing if you can pronounce it right. And if you pronounce it right, the people will be able to help you understand more. You'll also be able to understand other people better by being able to pronounce. The traditional cliche gringo will come into the MTC speaking something like this. If I want to say the gospel of Jesus Christ blesses families immensely, I would say with an accent, El Evangelio de Jesucristo bendice a las familias inmensamente. Whereas a gringo missionary might say, El Evangelio de Jesucristo bendice a las familias inmensamente. You can see the obvious differences in both of those, I hope. But by learning to pronounce all of the consonants that are unique to the Spanish language and mastering the vowels A, I, E, O, U, then you will be able to master the Spanish language. The ability to speak Spanish is a gift from our Heavenly Father. It is the gift of tongues. And by treating it with respect and putting in effort and really not complaining about having to learn the language and treating it like a blessing the way it actually is, God will help you learn even quicker the Spanish language. It's something that I've seen in myself as I learned it as a kid. It's something that I see every day in missionaries in the MTC, and for sure I saw on a daily basis as a missionary in Colombia. I hope you learn the language quickly. Vaya con Dios.